Be a member of the WHO-TV 13 and Coldwell Banker Mid-America Group Realtors Fan Club. Drop off a new or used fan at any of the 4 Coldwell Banker locations or at WHO-TV 13. To pick up a fan, call 283-4793. Wherever it breaks, whatever it takes. NBC News and News Center 13, where the news comes first 24 hours a day.
You too can make a difference. Join the Volunteer Connection today.
The following is a special presentation of the Big 7 is brought to you by Palmer College of Chiropractic and True Value Hardware Stores.
Welcome to the 18th Annual Quad City Times Big 7 from Davenport, Iowa. In just a few minutes, some 18,246 runners will be beating their feet along the streets here, along the Mississippi River, over the hills and dales of Davenport, Iowa. Hi, everybody. I'm Thom Cornelis. With me, Toni Reavis, noted race announcer from ESPN. And Toni, welcome to our Bix broadcast coverage. As you can see, people have said we don't know enough to get in and out of the rain. They have credence to that today, but just kind of a cooling light drizzle right now as far as runners are concerned. They're probably the best ones who are affected by this. The fans and the broadcasters have to deal with the weather just a little bit.
It's a tougher job on those broadcasters today than those runners. Runners have it easy. And the only thing to be today is a runner, because they will run very fast under these conditions.
And we have an excellent field again. We have our defending champ Ken Martin back, but he's got a host of Kenyans chasing him, and some South Africans and some Mexicans. I think we could see a record here in the men's division.
Absolutely. You know, with the biggest prize purse of any non-marathon in the United States, the Big 7 has always attracted the top international stars. And even though this is an Olympic year, and a lot of the stars are obviously over in Barcelona, we have a lot of people who have something to prove here on the roads of Davenport, including many people who should be on the Olympic team. So let's look at the people who are in the contending positions for today's Big 7. And appropriately enough, let's begin with our defending champion.
Actually, the older I get, I'm actually getting faster and actually getting away from the marathon. It hasn't really hurt my legs. I've just got a good kick. I've been out kicking guys on the track this spring. So if I'm somewhere on that downhill towards the end, my chances of winning are going up a lot higher.
Ken Martin arrives in the Quad Cities a reluctant defending champion. After finishing second at the U.S. Olympic trials in New Orleans at 10,000 meters, Martin failed to register an Olympic qualifying time in Europe following the trials, thereby missing out on his trip to Barcelona.
Well, like I said, I ran the Olympic trials in track and field in New Orleans, and then I was fourth in the Olympic marathon trials in April. So I've got a lot of big base from that, and my racing's been going very well since then.
Keith Brantley of Daytona Beach, Florida, is one of America's most consistent performers, whether on the track or the roads. 1989's American Road Racer of the Year, Keith also strung 3 wins together last year in Cleveland, Youngstown, Ohio, and Hammond, Indiana. Sammy Lile, the 27-year-old Kenyan farmer, won his 3rd straight U.S. road race July 12th at the Utica Boilermaker 15K. That course record followed victories at the Cascade Runoff 15K in Portland, Oregon, and a course record-tying win at the Peachtree 10K in Atlanta on July 4th. Olga Markova of St. Petersburg, Russia, is a casualty of the Soviet breakup. Considered by many as the gold medal favorite for Barcelona, Olga found herself in Bix rather than on Barcelona on the Russian team, looking to put a stamp on July 1992 in the only way left open for her.
I like a little shorter distances, to tell you the truth, so my strategy would be such that I know there's a lot of marathoner-type trained athletes, and I would hopefully be in that pack, because I think if I'm with someone or with anybody at the end, my speed will carry me through.
Libby Johnson of Fort Collins, Colorado, burst on the road scene in 1991 with impressive performances throughout the calendar year.
I think on this course, your strategy is basically to get up and over the hills quickly, but you don't want to burn out and run them too fast that you can't take advantage of the faster portions of the course. Kim
Jones of Spokane has been America's most consistent marathoner over the past 3 years. ranking as #1 in the U.S. in 1989 and again in 91, and the 3rd fastest in American history.
I've been running, racing 3 miles and less, so 7 miles is long for me, and I think it's going to be rough.
Sabrina Dornhofer of Minneapolis is better known for her success on the track than she is on the roads, as her Pan American Games gold medal at 3,000 meters last year would suggest. Yet at the recent U.S. track and field trials in New Orleans, Sabrina could only manage a 5th place finish. Dornhofer retools and looks to the Big 7. Pierre Reavis of France is the Masters' new king of the hill. Since arriving stateside to win the Masters title at the World Cross Country Championships in Boston in March, Reavis has gone 11 of 12 on the Masters circuit. However, what's more impressive, he's finished in the top 10 in all but one of those races in the Open division.
So there you see it, some of the ones to watch, and of course, there's other guys and gals who can come out of the pack, and we don't, you know, that's one of the great things about road racing. You never really know. Somebody's story could be written today that we're not aware of, and that's how they make their name in this sport.
Absolutely. It really is the ultimate meritocracy. That's why they run the race and don't give the awards out ahead of time. And again, we're going to have a spectacular, the course records almost have to go on a day like this.
All right, the record is 32 minutes, 17 seconds for the men. Here's the top 5 as we see it. Ken Martin, our defending champion. Steve Kogo, who was runner-up last year. Sammy Lele, perhaps the hottest guy coming in from Kenya. Keith Brantley and Alejandro Cruz, who was part of that 3-man trifecta last year, as you saw coming down the stretch. And those guys will be a factor. The elite women, Olga Markova, Sabrina Dornhofer, very refreshing, Trina Painter, Libby Johnson, and Kim Jones. So anyone out of those women probably will be riding away in that new Pontiac. The Masters, there's a Billy Bix, his 13th Bix, Bill Rogers, Pierre Levis, Nick Rose out of England. You kind of like him.
Nick Rose, and also Joe Nzao of Kenya, former Open champion twice here at Bix's promising victory.
Yeah, he's gone out. He's pulled a Joe Namath.
Yeah,
he says he's going to win it.
Yeah. We'll
Carol
see.
McGlatchy and Barbara Falutz, they are also getting ready to run in the Masters division. They are as well known, you might say some of those names are familiar with you, top distance runners ever. But of course, when it comes to the Bix, Joan Benoit Samuelson and Bill Rogers' names kind of stand out. Now, we're going to be talking about them. They've earned 6 Bix wins, and they have brought victory to the race in more ways than one.
For a satisfying life, help others to good health. Become a doctor of chiropractic. For the best in chiropractic education, come to the world leader. Enroll at Palmer College of Chiropractic. Give life a lift.
You can do it.
You can remodel and repair with help from True Value. Make it stick with Matco liquid nails. True Value priced at $1.19. Get 2 rolls of Tuck masking tape for only $1. Weatherproof with True Bond silicone sealant. Choose clear or white. Get 2 for just $5. For personal service and low prices, bring your family to ours.
You can do it with True Value.
Since 1866, Kurt's Hardware has worked. For contractors, home builders, lumber yards, manufacturers, and government agencies, Kurt's Hardware is your #1 hardware and tool distributor. Come to Kurt's Hardware when you're looking for hard-to-find tools, hardware, building supplies, and skilled advice. Experience counts and it shows at Kurt's. You come to Kurt's when you've got questions, when you want to buy in volume, when you want to get it done right the first time. Kurt's on Keogh, just north of the freeway.
If you're going to drink like a fish, be prepared to sleep with them too.
Welcome back to our live coverage of the Quad City Times Big 7, the 18th running. The skies are lightening up just a little bit here, so we're able to put our umbrellas down just for a minute or two. Let's hope it stays that way for the race itself. As you can see, the crowds beginning to line the boulevards and the streets here of the 7-mile Bix course. And, of course, people who have been here through the years have really come to know Bill Rogers and Joan Benoit Samuelson. Joan has won it 4 times. Bill won it twice back in 80 and 81. He's been runner-up a slew of times and always a popular runner. And they've kind of brought victory to this race both on and off the course.
She's won it 4 times, more than any other runner, male or female. And without a doubt is the first lady of the Bix.
This is a special race. I mean, I do have good vibes when I come back.
And every time she comes back, Joni knows all eyes are on her.
I know there are a lot of younger runners here and some older, but, you know, whenever an old horse shows up, all the young guns want to go for the old horse.
And no one knows that as well as Bill Rogers, who will run his 13th Bix, winning it twice.
It's a mega race these days. You know, this is when the mega race category, when you're getting up into hitting towards 20,000 runners.
And Bill Rogers is a big part of that growth. When Bix Billy first ran it in 1980, 1,500 runners took it to the streets.
Well, I certainly am getting older like the race is getting older, you know. The race is in better condition than I am.
Bill Rogers should be a very familiar figure to the 20,000 runners and walkers in this year's Quad City Times Bix 7. After all, the banner lining the streets bears a striking resemblance to Bix Billy.
It's very, very important to me, and I remember it really is an honor, and I'm very thankful.
And runners from average to elite are thankful for the Bix and its mega race status.
All the runners feel the exact same way. I saw Joan Benoit Samuelson last week, and we were comparing notes on Bix as we were training. I said, "Are you ready for the hills?"
I think they're ready for the hills. You know, Tony, they're kind of like the Arnold Palmer of road racing here. They really brought it to international star status, haven't they?
They really have. They were the king and queens of the American roads, and the fact that they continue to be as aggressive in their competition as they are is a testament to both them and what is required in the sport. Billy asked not to do a pregame interview because he wanted to concentrate on the competition at age 45. Joni didn't qualify for the Olympic trials down in New Orleans because she's had some biomechanical problems, and yet she still pushes very aggressively to make her body work like it once did when she was on top of the hill. So they're not taking this lightly, and they don't come in here just to run through the motions. They're here to race as competitively as they can.
And we've seen Joni come here through the years dragging the limp leg, as it were, always with an injury or coming off a pregnancy or something, and all she does is end up contending for the race. So we'll see what happens. In fact, Bill Rogers was even here early for what we call the Bix at 6, which brings us to a little interesting feature here we're going to show you, because the weekend runners, of course, numbering nearly 19,000 in this field, they don't just come out here for one day a year and run this race. They're getting ready all year long. In fact, the last 6 Thursdays before the race is a very unique training run called the Bix at 6.
Okay, you can go. The hills are alive more than just once a year. Thursday nights leading up to the Quad City Times Bix 7 are reserved for the Bix at 6, a chance to get on course in organized police fashion.
This way, you kind of getting, you know what to do. You know, you kind of get onto it for 7 miles, you know, and it's just a lot of fun, and you meet a lot of people, and you get more into it, I think.
I think just for the fun of it, the camaraderie. I think these Bix at 6s now are so large that it's almost like the original, the first 2 or 3 Bixes.
It's bigger. The Bix at 6 consistently had more than 1,000 runners and walkers. Just another opportunity to focus on running.
I would say if it weren't for the Bix, I probably wouldn't run much at all. I think everyone, as soon as March starts, they start thinking of the Bix. They start running articles and training guidelines in the Quad City Times, and people really do use that as a focus point. They really want to be ready for the Bix.
And there's no better way to get ready, the closest thing to the real thing.
You gotta have course management, I think. Know where downhill is, uphill is. Otherwise, you're not gonna be able to run in decent time.
You've run the Bix before, right?
A couple of times. Right.
What's your advice to anyone that has never run it before? Your biggest warning, I guess.
Don't push too hard early. Open it up a little as you come down this street here, Kirkwood. Have fun after that.
And fun and encouragement is the bottom line in the weekly Bix at 6.
Need the exercise. Second of all, it's probably the nicest group of people you can run with. They're all here to get that exercise in. Yeah. Third of all, we wouldn't miss the big day of the Bix for nothing.
No, we certainly would. In fact, Bill Rogers thinks these Bix 6 training runs may be something that catches on at other races around the country as they get ready for the race. Speaking of other races around the country, when we come back, Toni Reavis is going to check in with us on some of those major races and this Kenyan wave of runners that is washing over road racing and leaving its mark when we continue.
For a satisfying life, help others to good health. Become a doctor of chiropractic. For the best in chiropractic education, come to the world leader. Enroll at Palmer College of Chiropractic. Give life a lift.
You can do it.
You can beat the heat with the help of True Value, the Mr. Coffee Electric Iced Teapot. True Value priced at $22.88. Make ice cream, yogurt, and friends with a 6-quart White Mountain ice cream maker. Get the taste of outdoor cooking in any weather with a Contemporary Electric Barbecue. It's just $24.99. For personal service and low prices, bring your family to ours.
You can do it with True Value.
The answer to life's richest puzzles.
Tonight at 6:30, only on TV 13.
These days, kids everywhere are doing more to save the world. They plant trees, and it helps clean our air. They're joining a club called Kids for a Clean Environment to find out how to help.
We make birdhouses so there's less trash at the city dump.
It's a free club created by kids for kids.
My club recycles these to save electricity.
We need your help, too. Call Kids Space at 1-800-952-FACE. The world is depending on us.
Welcome back to the 18th running of the Quad City Times Bix 7. I'm Thom Cornelis. With me, ESPN's Toni Reavis. And Toni, we touched on the wave of Kenyans when Joseph Nzau won here back in '84. We kind of got a sneak peek of what was to come, but we really didn't think it would be coming like this. But now they're here.
They're here, and they're here in force. If we thought that the Kenyans made their impact at the Olympic Games back in Seoul in '88 when they won everything from the 800 meters up through the 5,000 and then only took second place in the marathon and the 10K, well, compared to what they're doing on the U.S. roads since March of this year, that was just warming up.
Nothing new. Steve Kogo's performance at the Bix 7 is a fine example. But what has changed in 1992 is the depth and number of Kenyans coming to the American road scene. No longer just the isolated champion, Kenyans who were going to school in the United States anyway and running the roads as part of workouts. Nowadays, we're seeing Kenyans coming directly from Africa in sets of 2 and 3 and dominating wherever they go. The week after placing 5 runners in the top 8 at the World Cross Country Championships in Boston, the Kenyan team dispersed to race sites around the country, anxious to utilize the fitness they developed for the Worlds. Among the first races chosen was the prestigious Carlsbad 5000 outside San Diego. The Kenyan stars present, William Mutwal and Richard Chalimo, made short work of the competition and the once proud Carlsbad course record. At the tape, it was Mutwal over Chalimo by 3 seconds, but under the old course and world mark by some 14 seconds. The day before, 4 other Kenyans swept the top places at the Azalea Trail 10K in Mobile, Alabama. 3-time American Olympian John Gregoric enunciates the perceived advantage of the Kenyan athletes.
Think about it's not just the Kenyans, but it's anybody who's born at altitude and has lived there their whole life. They sort of have an inborn extra oxygen carrying capacity, and it's only developed over time. And when they're children, they're out running and playing and having fun and all the time developing their oxygen carrying capacity. And I feel like well, I know that there'll never be any catching up to that buildup that they have. I'll never be able to get that back, starting running when I did, and obviously not at altitude. So it gets frustrating at times knowing that they have that inborn and built in over the years.
Following Carlsbad and Azalea Trail came victories in Washington, D.C. and Charleston, South Carolina, at the Cherry Blossom 10-miler, Cooper River Bridge 10K, and the Sally Mae 10K. Course records, again, the rule rather than the exception. Then it was down to New Orleans for the Crescent City Classic, where the World Road 10K mark was set by an American, Mark Nino, in 1984. Dominic Carui, William Segay, and Andoro Osoro ran again in a world unto themselves. Another longtime American roadmaster who has raced Africans since his collegiate days at Colorado State is John Sinclair.
I think what we're seeing here is a completely different set of Africans in strategy than what they were using before. The athletes who were here in the early 80s, Michael Mashokis, Gabriel Kamau, people like that who were racing on the roads consistently, they lived here. It's because they came over and they went to school here, and they stayed. And so they were on the roads and they were running right along with us. So they were running road race after road race after road race throughout the whole year. These guys, like you say, they come here, they run 2 road races, and they go home. If they stayed here and they ran all year long and had to support themselves here in the United States, it may change things differently for them. I think the strategy and how well they would run and so forth would be a lot different.
The springtime wave has now returned to Kenya to prepare for the Olympic Games. But the new summer arrival from Kenya began their racing in Portland, Oregon at the Cascade Runoff 15K. The results, the same as before. Kenyans first and second. Sammy Lile and Godfrey Kipperton.
The Kenyan connection next comes to the Quad Cities, and you can all but count on they will be a major factor. Reporting from Portland, Oregon at the Cascade Runoff, I'm Toni Reavis for the Big 7.
And all the way from Portland, Tony's ready. I guess you could say they've kind of developed an altitude, huh? And also an attitude.
Stop it. Have him stop it.
It's a little too early for that, huh? But there's 5 of them that could be a factor. And you have some interesting theories yourself on the Kenyans running. We'll develop that maybe more in the race, but
absolutely.
Talk to.
It's the difference between the Kenyans who are based here as opposed to the Kenyans who are just coming over for a short package of races and being peaked in the process.
Okay. Out on the course, we have our reporter Doug Bisbee down on the turnaround, no doubt high and dry. Biz, how's the weather down there?
Not too bad. We got a little bit of a drizzle. I think the runners will like it. Like you said, just the fans breaking out the umbrellas. Like you said, we're at the Athlete's Foot turnaround. This is a place where everybody starts heading back to the starting and finish line down there. Athlete's Foot this year will pay $500 to the first male and female to reach this point. But new this year, as they're running back towards Brady Street, the first man and woman to go underneath the Palmer College of Chiropractic overpass will get another $500. One stipulation, though, those 2 people do have to finish within the top 10 in the overall race. Big paychecks here at the Bix, and no doubt the Bix always does bring in top quality runners. And some of your average runners, well, they like to imitate some of their favorites that are running here today. Chances are their times probably won't be the same as their favorites, but with the latest racing technology now available to the public, they can at least look like them all the way down to the shoes.
It's got to be the shoes.
You got that right. One of the few pieces of equipment that runners really rely on is their shoes. 3 to 5 times your body weight comes down on a runner's heel each time it strikes the ground. Not all the 20,000 runners in this year's Big 7 will take that into consideration when choosing their footwear for the race.
You'll see the full gambit, and unfortunately we'll see some people out there running in basketball shoes, or we'll see them running in a walking shoe or something. And that's really where this whole category of athletic shoes is trying to educate people on the needs for the varying types of shoes.
In the mid-'70s, when running first became popular, a runner would pay probably $40 for a pair of top-of-the-line shoes. But with today's advancement, a serious runner today can pay anywhere up to $150 for a state-of-the-art shoe.
It's kind of interesting. You look back 20 years, 15 years, and guys were setting world records and stuff that, I wouldn't even jog in today. It was good for its time, but it's no longer what people need.
What people do need when running is one of the many new running shoes that offer protection to the foot for all those miles of pounding. And today's shoemakers use a cushioning device to absorb the shock.
All these cushioning systems, they all work, they all function, they all have to be tested and proven. So the biggest thing is that you're going to get cushioning. You need to get a shoe that fits your foot. You need to get a shoe that offers you the kind of stability and cushioning that you need.
Our job, we'll do the hard part. We'll do the research and the technology. You just get out there and run.
This is what the elite runners will be wearing. It's called a racing flat. It's a lot lighter than the shoes they train on, hoping to get an edge any way they can. I'll be talking to you later on at the turnaround when the racers get back here. Tom, Tony?
Thanks, Biz. Give me those black low-cut Chuck Taylors anytime. I can still run. We'll talk to Biz later. I've heard this call to the runners to the starting line, and we'll be back. Race time approaches here on our Bix Network.
You can pamper your garden with help from True Value. Our Green Thumb 60-foot reinforced garden hose is a true value at $9.88. Our Green Thumb oscillating sprinkler just $9.99. And get Ortho high-power insect foggers. Buy 2 for just $3.99 and get a 3rd can free. For personal service and low prices, bring your family to ours.
You can do it with True Value.
For a satisfying life, help others to good health. Become a doctor of chiropractic. For the best in chiropractic education, come to the world leader. Enroll at Palmer College of Chiropractic. Give life a lift.
On the next new WKRP in Cincinnati, Johnny Peeper is back.
Hi, Johnny.
But he's a little jumpy.
We're looking for Johnny Caravella.
Everyone wants Johnny.
Do you like having your back scrubbed in the shower?
There's something unsavory going on there.
No, it's just a song of love.
What?
It's a fast-paced, hair-raising episode that really takes the cake. Don't miss it. Saturday at 5, only on TV 13.
You could learn a lot from a kid. Seatbelts save lives. I think all these people should wear seatbelts. Grandmas, grandpas, tell them you gotta wear your seatbelt. Mothers, fathers, you should even wear seatbelts when you're in the back seat. Babies, children, could you make it in a car crash or you might fly out the window. Buckle right, low and tight. Pets.
As you can see, the runners are getting ready down there at the starting line. And if you're just joined us for the first time and want to know why it's called a Big 7 with ups and downs, well, Olympic gold medal winner Frank Shorter, who has run this race many times before, gives us a little preview of what's to come.
The difficulty of the Big 7 course is apparent right from the start. You stand at the starting line and stare up, literally up, Brady Street Hill. And you know that the first part of the race is going to be a steady climb to mile 1. The difficulty in that first mile is in holding yourself back enough so that you don't wear yourself out, but also maintaining contact with the lead pack. Mentally, you're saving. From mile 1 on Brady to where you make the right-hand turn onto Kirkwood heading towards mile 2, you have to recover. Just past mile 2 on Kirkwood in this race is where somebody usually takes a little sprint, tries to gain a bit of an advantage. Now psychologically, mile 3 is a very important point in this race. And once again, you know that here, from 3 to 3.5 miles at the turnaround, someone is going to make a move. Someone's going to make a spurt. You go past the turnaround, head back up McClellan, and this is where you get a very good look at what you hope is a lead over your opposition. Mile 4 mentally is where you want to have a little bit of lead or still be with that front, and you're having to prepare for a steady climb back up Kirkwood to mile 5. From mile 5 on Kirkwood to mile 6 is usually where this race is won. The goal in the Big 7 year after year in both the men's and women's fields is to reach mile 6 ahead. From mile 6, you get back onto Brady Street, make that left-hand turn, and scream down that hill as fast as you can to the left-hand turn on 4th Street to the finish line.
And from the finish line to the starting line, they're going to be running for a little prize booty today. $5,000 and a new car to the winner of both the men's and women's division. Second place gets $4,000. Third place, $2,500. Fourth place, $1,500. Fifth place, $1,000. You can finish in the money 1 through 10, but perhaps that's not on their minds right now, although new cars wait the winner.
You know, part of the reason that Big 7 attracts such a big crowd is the fact that the dollars are as big as any non-marathon event that there is.
All right, we can see the runners gathering. We're just about ready for the start of the 18th running of the Quad City Times Big 7. Be right back.
Wherever it breaks, whatever it takes, From the reporters on the front lines to the names you trust the most, NBC News and News Center 13, where the news comes first, 24 hours a day.
The way some people ride motorcycles, you'd think they had nothing to lose.
Jerry Reno and News Center 13, where the news comes first 24 hours a day.
The following is a special presentation of the Quad City Times Big 7 Network. It's the 18th running of the Quad City Times Big 7, the largest non-marathon road race in the United States. A year ago, over 18,000 runners battled the hills of Davenport, Iowa. The men's race, won by Ken Martin, who outlasted former champion Steve Kogo and Alejandro Cruz. The women's race, captured by Germany's Uda Pippig. Today, a possible 20,000 are expected to compete in the Midwest premier 7-mile road race. This is the 1992 Quad City Times Big 7. There you see the starting line for the 18th running of the Quad City Times Big 7. It's darkening up again. The umbrellas are popping back open. I'm Thom Cornelis. Along with me, ESPN race commentator Toni Reavis. And we're getting set for what should be a great race. About a minute to go till race time. Tony, what's going through the minds of these runners now?
Well, they're hoping the rain actually starts and does something that just lasts consistently. That's all you're looking for in the conditions. And it is on at the starting line. You can see that it's raining very hard, which means it's moving up the course because we're just about, a half a mile up the course, and it's not quite raining that hard, but we could see down at the starting line that it was pelting pretty good.
Our weatherman, Terry
the
Swales,
balloons are down.
Has told us that some thunderstorms are arriving momentarily just about at the start of the race, so the timing could not be better. Terry, you said it's going to arrive around race time. It has arrived. Hopefully it'll be a quick shower, a quick burst, and all these fans who are lining the course won't be very uncomfortable as we see the runners getting ready. They're Superman Steve Merrick down there. They're about ready to go. I think they may disperse with a lot of the opening introductions in the sake of getting this race going. We can feel it now. The rain is coming down pretty good here at our broadcast station, and we can see the runners kind of punching up their shoulders. They probably want to get going rather than stand there and get a little chilly in the rain. So it's going to be an interesting start to the Big 7, and we are off and running the 18th annual Quad City Times Big 7. You see our lead truck, our motorcycle cameras, and there you see the rain pelting the streets. You can actually see it. What a start this will be. One to remember as we take some early guys going for the lead, probably to get on camera.
Yeah, the crowd has made, they start oohing and ahhing as that pelting rain that just made a downpour on the runners just joined us at the broadcast location here at Channel 6, and the people just started oohing and ahhing, and this reminds me of the start of the Crescent City Classic down in New Orleans when the rain was very much like this. At the time, I referred to it as biblical. But for the runners, this is not bad. These are wide streets they're going to be running on. There's no potholes. There shouldn't be a lot of puddles, and this will cool the runners off, and we should see some fast running because there's not a lot of wind that goes along with this. It's just a straight downpour, which means, much like automobiles, when you're working that hard, you're building up heat, and now there's a place for that heat to be dissipated.
All right, as you can see, runners moving up Brady Street Hill. We'll see who can set the early pace. The weather is going to wreak a little havoc here on the cameras from time to time, so we want you to keep that in mind. We'll be trying this. You see there, Kenyans there, 3 abreast as they're going by us now, getting ready to come up Brady. Of course, way in the back of the pack, a lot of the runners and walkers getting soaked, waiting for their turn to get to the starting line. But right now, there are the lead pack of runners. Several of the runners want to go out and set an early pace. There's a couple rabbits in the field that want to try and get to that first mile. But we'll try and keep you posted. Number 1 will be Ken Martin. Number 3, Joseph Zhao. Steve Kogo is wearing number 4 today. Sammy Lele will have number 7 when we get in camera range to see him.
He's on the left side of the screen, and this is something. We're getting drenched here. The crowd's getting drenched. The athletes are feeling it as well.
Number 84 is the leader. We'll get a name on him, but we see the Kenyans, 4 of them, along with Ken Martin and Alejandro Cruz, going by our broadcast position right now.
And Martin Pitayo is on the middle of the picture. They're wearing the Reebok colors, and so it's, but right in the middle, I can't pick his number out, but it's Martin Pitayo. And he is a Mexican who has just run spectacularly over in Europe. Didn't make the Mexican 10,000-meter Olympic team, but he has been running magnificently in Europe, and he can give these Kenyans a go. But they run as a team, they help one another, and the littlest man in that crowd is Sammy Lele, who's the favorite in the competition today. And already, as we are no more than 2 minutes and 40 seconds into the race, he's wearing number 7, is Sammy Lele.
And number 11 is Godfrey Kiprotich. He's in there.
27, Sammy Niangachi, who ran the Boston Marathon. He faded badly after being with the leaders through 18 miles. But again,
number 9 is also in there.
That's
Korea.
I mean, they're all these Kenyans plus Martin Pitayo.
Pitayo from Mexico wearing number 15. As the runners there, you see the Bix masses making their way up Brady Street Hill. The first part of this race, 1 mile, a steady climb uphill. You don't want to burn yourself out too far. Of course, a lot of these runners have run it for several years. They know better than to come out. Number 1, with the traffic, you're not going to go too far anyway. So you want to get up that hill, and then you can kind of set your running clock, as it were, as we continue to get drenched here pretty good at our broadcast. There you see the Kenyans running abreast. 5 of them now.
Rebenek, I mean, is that Sandu in the back with the purple shorts?
We're trying to pick him out.
He could well be that he's doing anything. Alejandro Cruz, a Mexican, on the left side of the screen. He was 3rd here last year. He has been running against these Kenyans on the tour throughout the summer. He was 3rd at the Cascade Runoff 15K.
And he knows he wants to stay with him. He doesn't want him to get too far out of his range.
If Lele has a weakness at all, it's the fact that his style is very much like a shuffle, a marathoner shuffle, even though he's never run one of those 26-milers. And he doesn't run all that effectively downhill. Kiprotich, his countryman, is a very fast downhill runner who caught up with him at Cascade going down a major downhill to Williger Hill. So we don't have a lot of time going down Brady Street at the end of the competition, but there is a steep decline. Therefore, if you're going to be, you got to be near Lele in order to catch him. You can't let him get too far ahead. That's why they're going to go and give everything they got in his first couple of miles.
There you see many of the camera-shy runners going by as they have turned on to Kirkwood now. They made the first turn, so they're up the hill. They've made that first mile, and now they're making the turn down Kirkwood Boulevard.
Last year, Bill Reisschneider took out the first mile in 4 minutes, 54-second pace. We are not yet at 4 minutes, and right now, just 4:53 we're passing now. They've already, we don't have the exact split, but they're well on.
So a great opening run then.
Well, it's classic Kenyan tactics. Steve Kogo, who is one of the American-based Kenyans, he was a Fairleigh Dickinson graduate out of New Jersey. He had a great quote in the Times this morning. He said, a lot of times when you get great runners together, it's a tactical race, a waiting race. But the Kenyans, they don't run to win, they run to perform. And that's what you're seeing. First mile, 4 minutes, 45 seconds. We're on course record. So much for my idea, there's no huddle.
It's almost like a steeplechase down there as they're getting ready.
Put some hurdles out there.
All right. Something everyone's going to remember here as the rain coming down. Actually, it's coming straighter down now. It was coming at an angle for a while, so maybe it will dissipate here before too long. But there you see the Kenyans and the 2 Mexicans, Cruz and Pateo. There's about a 7-man pack there. The 2 guys named Sammy. Leading the pack.
Patayo, number 15, just looks he looks very good, very effortless. Whereas Cruz was working very hard back with the Mazda singlet on. You can see how hard he muscles his way.
As far as the women, we've been able to pick them out. Olga Markova was the leader after 1 mile. She was followed by Trina Painter and Anne-Marie Letgo. Their time, 5:35. How do you like that first women's split?
Well, that's more of a marathon pace, to be honest. That's not as fast as the men. Now, Markova is more of a marathon runner. Again, she's the Boston Marathon champion, who should be running in Barcelona. but is not. And the other two women ran in the U.S. trials and didn't qualify, but ran very fast times, and so they should be prepared to give Markova all she wants in today's race.
Okay, as the crowd thins out, the runners thin out, our motorcycle camera will be able to get in there, but you have to keep in mind the slippery streets is going to cause him a little precaution too. We're going to take a break right now and come back to what is already shaping up is to be a wide open mad dash here in the Quad City Times Big 7.
For a satisfying life, help others to good health. Become a doctor of chiropractic. For the best in chiropractic education, come to the world leader. Enroll at Palmer College of Chiropractic. Give life a lift.
The year Gatorade came out, linemen moved a little slower. Runners were lonelier, and the only people who worked out were on TV. Sports have changed. So change your sports drink to All Sport. It's got a specially advanced formula. It's got the optimal balance of carbohydrates and fluids. And it's got a taste that makes Gatorade a thing of the past. New All Sport. Change your game.
Okay, people, your assignment today is very simple. Make this Earth as beautiful as possible. Any questions? Get started. Does anyone know where Lisa is?
Yeah, I do.
Do a good turn for the Earth. A community service thought from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Welcome back to a rain-drenched Quad City Times Big 7, adding another element to this fine race as the Kenyans, 5 of them, and 2 Mexicans. And there's Olga Markova.
No, that's Anne-Marie Letko, rather, from New Jersey. She's number 18 out of New Jersey, runs for the Nike running room out there. Markova is right on her right side, and you can, when we go back and see the women, you'll see how Markova has that magnificent little marathoner's pace. And right now it's Sammy Lele on the inside next to the curb. Nayan Gincha, number 27 in the middle. Kiprotich, number 11 on the outside with the Mexican Cruz behind. 2 more Kenyans and Pitayo behind Lele on the curb. And that's, we have one of the Kenyans finally dropping off in the back a little bit. We are only just now turning 10 minutes into the race, so they're past 2 miles. The footing, everything is wet, but they can let the engines run out at full RPMs. Mm-hmm. You know, in this kind of course, when you...
They obviously had a game plan coming in, didn't they?
The Kenyans, you know, like Kogo was saying, they don't have a game plan. Their plan is essentially, as you go out hard, then improve your position. As the singing goes on by the crowds of runners who are still streaming by our broadcast location.
They're having a great time.
The only thing to be today is a runner. I mean, because you don't care if you get wet, you're going to sweat up anyway, so you might as well just get drenched. It's actually very refreshing. This will probably be the most fun the Big 7 has had in its 18 years, and it's probably the worst time we'll have 18 years of broadcasting it.
I feel like I've ran already. We're drenched here. Oh. Hey, this is fun. As you see the Kenyan, Sammy Lele. Everyone said he was the man to beat. He's trying to set an early pace, but there's about 5 guys that don't want him to run away.
No, I mean, if they stick with him, they feel they got a chance at the end. Now, what we're seeing, where's Keith Brantley? Where's Ken Martin? Where's Steve Kogo?
Yes, where are they?
The reason I believe that what we're seeing here is the Kenyans that are coming to the United States now, like John Sinclair was saying, have come directly from Kenya. They're peaked coming from home. They'll only be here for 5 races, so they can put it all out into 5 races, then take their prize money, go home and live very well for a year on the money they made in the United States. If they had to spend their money here and race all the time, like the great Steve Kogo, Michael Musioki who's run here, Joe and Zhao, those guys, when you run more often, you rob yourself of your ability to peak, and so that would be more of an even playing field. Right now, they're not running on an even playing field, and the Kenyans here have a tremendous advantage over the American Tour regulars.
All right, the 2-mile split times, 9:05 for the leaders. For the women, 10:34. The leading woman right now is Anne-Marie Letko. She's followed by Olga Markova. Libby Johnson has moved into third, and Sabrina Dornhofer of Minneapolis now fourth.
All close together, too.
Yes, very close together. We'll be picking up the women momentarily. As you see, Sammy Lele and the Kenyans, followed closely by the Mexicans, Cruz and Patao, as they head into mile 3. We'll be right back with more exciting coverage here of the Quad City Times Big 7.
You can do it.
You can remodel and repair with help from True Value. Make it stick with Mako Liquid Nails. True Value priced at $1.19. Get 2 rolls of Tuck masking tape for only $1. Weatherproof with True Bond silicone sealant. Choose clear or white. Get 2 for just $5. For personal service and low prices, bring your family to ours.
You can do it with True Value.
Wouldn't it be great to win a backyard barbecue and be able to invite 100 of your closest friends? And wouldn't it be great if the Iowa pork producers and Robin's Nest Primetime Catering and Diet Coke showed up with all the fixings and all you had to do was have fun? Win it all by watching TV 13 live at 5 and listening for my backyard barbecues. Then call into 100 FM KOIF the next morning at 7:10 with the correct clue. Winners will be chosen daily and each qualifies for one of 4 blockbuster barbecues. Brought to you by TV 13, 100 FM KOIF, the Iowa pork producers, Robin's Nest Primetime Catering, and Diet.
Come on, play it again. Right after this message.
If you need information on money, health and nutrition, educating your children and more, then you need the government's free consumer information catalog.
Just give me the address.
Send your name and address to New Catalog, Pueblo, Colorado, 81009.
Wink.
The free catalog lists publications on getting a job, exercising, buying a home, and much more. Getting your free consumer information catalog and free sample booklet is as easy as sending your name and address to New Catalog, Pueblo, Colorado, 81009. The free catalog will give you access to hundreds of government publications, many of which are free. For those of you who missed it, that address again, New Catalog, Pueblo, Colorado, 81009.
I got it.
The free consumer information catalog. First-class information for the price of a first-class stamp.
Yes.
Welcome back to the Quad City Times Big 7, 18th running. Thom Cornelis, Toni Reavis with you. Rain has added a new dimension to this year's race. The Kenyans, there you see the lead pack with the Mexicans, Patao and Cruz, running stride for stride. So there's Sammy Lele. We're going to give Martin Patao second. Kiprotich officially third, but any one of that pack of 5 now is ready to run.
Yeah, it's Carrera, number 9, is the other Kenyan in there, along with Kiprotich and Lele. And this is the first time now, in now his 4th race on the United States Tour, that Lele has had people right with him through the heart of the race. He's always broken away very early. You saw that earlier in the piece we did on the Kenyans.
Here comes the spine from Palmer College, the one of the traditions, the walking spine, as they're heading up the other incline there.
You can see that, and now it looks like Cruz on the right. They're coming up to the turnaround, and they want to get good position for that turn. Oh, just what they need, water. Right. Yeah, let me have a cup of that water.
Get some water.
Yeah, splash that on my head, would you?
And there's the turn. The
Kiprotich
early.
Kiprotich makes it first, followed by Cruz. Then Pitayo and Lele.
$500.
That's a $500 premium, in essence. And now they have to go up another. They're going to turn, shift gears. This is very much like a Formula One race course as opposed to the Indy 500, where they have but one big gear and they just hold that all the way around and hope the engine doesn't break.
1340 after 3 miles. You like that pace?
That's probably 5K. That's 1340 is probably 5K, so it's more like 13 flat for the 3-mile mark, and that's still under the course record. Again, with all this gear changing goes on with the turns and with the hills that are out there, it's really who's got the best transmission, not so much the best engine. Who can shift gears and accelerate? Because when you go around that turn, you have to get back up to speed. And now Cruz is making his move. And if you take a look at the styles, Cruz has no lift in his legs. He's all power. He just muscles his way through it. His arms almost pick up his legs. He's very tight around the hips.
That's Cruz and Godfrey Kiprotich of Kenya, who have come out a couple of strides ahead. But Martin Pateo right behind Sammy Lele, keeping pace. A couple of the other Kenyans dropping back just a little. So we've our six-pack is now gone to a foursome, actually as the leaders, but you get the feeling that at any time someone could come up. Still haven't seen much of Ken Martin, the defending champion.
We're not going to.
And the women right now, Anne-Marie Lutko is our leader. Olga Markova is running second. Libby Johnson from the U.S. and Sabrina Dornhofer, another American, running third and fourth. So keep in mind the top 10 places.
The game's been called off.
The River Bandits staff is here in uniform. We understand the Arsenal has a big contingent running. They're running in platoon. We may be able to pick them up.
Only now, Tom, is the final walkers just passed us. It took 17 minutes for the final walkers to the entire field to clear our location.
All right, the women, after 3 miles, Trina Painter has forged into the lead with Libby Johnson second. So we'll keep our eyes on Trina Painter.
Trina Painter was fifth in the Olympic trials at 10,000 meters in New Orleans last month. But what she did was essentially do most of the work. She did all the leading and then just got outkicked in the last lap. So she's in fine shape and is looking to make the next move up in levels on the road scene, and she's doing it here today.
All right, there we see Alele, Cruz, Kiprotich. We just have word that Ken Martin, the defending champion, dropped out of the race at the turnaround. So what do you make of that, Tony? Injured?
No, I don't think he's injured. I think he's just despondent. I mean, he was second at the Olympic trials, so he was on the Olympic team, but he didn't have a 28:07 Olympic qualifying time. He went to Oslo for the Bislett Games and did not gain his time in that one chance he had to do it. So even though he's in wonderful shape, I think he's a little bit down psychologically. And then when these guys come out and just burn him off in the first mile, he's almost just saying, well, the heck with it. I mean, it's very difficult to come off a discouraging mental experience like qualifying and yet not qualifying for the Olympic Games, and then come off right on race sharp, being that fit mentally. And I think that's what we're seeing in Ken Martin today.
There you see the turnaround. Libby Johnson, who I kind of had a hunch she might do well. She came in here with a great attitude, has moved into second among the women. We're trying to pick up the women, but the rain, of course, playing a little havoc with our motorcycle and our helicopter camera. So if you occasionally see a little breakup on your screen, that is the reason, as we're bouncing signals from that lead truck up to the helicopter. But there's a nice shot there, as you see. Cruz.
And Lele's hanging on. It looks like Lele's a little bit vulnerable at this point, and Kiprotich and Cruz and Pitayo, the two Mexicans. It's 2-on-2 now. It's always been in the past that the Kenyans would overwhelm another contingent, and they would run as a team against whoever else was in the race. Well, right now here at the Big Seven, what we have is 2-on-2. So it's an even playing field amongst the Kenyans and the Mexicans, and the Mexicans are now 1 and 2.
All right, last year we had 3-on-3. This year we have 4-on-4. Should be a great race as they hit the 4-mile mark at 18:28. We're going to be back, which should be a great finish here to the Quad City Times Big Seven. Stay with us.
For a satisfying life, help others to good health. Become a doctor of chiropractic. For the best in chiropractic education, come to the world leader. Enroll at Palmer College of Chiropractic. Give life a lift.
You can do it.
You can beat the heat with the help of True Value. The Mr. Coffee Electric Iced Teapot. True Value priced at $22.88. Make ice cream, yogurt, and friends with a 6-quart White Mountain ice cream maker. Get the taste of outdoor cooking in any weather with a Contemporary Electric Charbecue. It's just $24.99. For personal service and low prices, bring your family to ours.
You can do it with True Value.
Since 1866, Kurt's Hardware has worked. For contractors, home builders, lumber yards, manufacturers, and government agencies, Kurt's Hardware is your #1 hardware and tool distributor. Come to Kurt's Hardware when you're looking for hard-to-find tools, hardware, building supplies, and skilled advice. Experience counts and it shows at Kurt's. You come to Kurt's when you've got questions, when you want to buy in volume, when you want to get it done right the first time. Kurt's on Keogh, just north of the freeway.
What can you do? What can one person do?
Somewhere, a worker
worker is hired and a family is sheltered, educated, and loved. Because somewhere a choice is made every day, the choice to buy American. Why not make that choice whenever you can? Because somewhere, someone's counting on it.
What can you do to bring it home to the USA?
You could be here doing a little of this, or maybe a little of that, but you don't have one of these?
Well, just win one from WHO-TV and WHO Radio.
What's the catch?
One of these. Just watch News Center 13 during the month of July from Monday through Thursday, and I'll give you the Catch of the Day clue.
Then on Fridays, call Van and Connie, be the right numbered caller with the right clues, and you could be a winner on WHO Radio.
And then on August 5th, we'll reel in the big winner of this boat.
In the 100 years since a YMCA instructor invented the game, millions of kids from every walk of life have played basketball in Y programs, building friendships, gaining self-esteem, and in the process, maybe even learning basketball. Support your local YMCA.
Welcome back to the Quad City Times Big 7. Thom Cornelis and Toni Reavis with you as you see just running through the rain here. And runners enjoy it. We have two four-packs, really, in the men's and women's division. As you see, Sammy Lele and Alejandro Cruz, Martin Pateo, and Kiprotich from Kenya. They're pretty much going back and forth. Same for the women, where Olga Markova has taken the lead, but only by a couple of steps over Trina Painter, Libby Johnson, and Anne-Marie Letko, all right there. So we have a four-pack going on in each division, Tony.
It's a great race course. This is not one of these new courses where they lay out for speed. It's a traditional road course where there's hills and turns, and it brings out all the elements which require excellent racing. That's Olga Markova, who's in the lead with that magnificent, efficient marathoner stride, which ran her the second fastest Boston Marathon in history. And she is just relentless in the way she runs. She doesn't have a lot of tactics. She doesn't pick up the pace surge and etc. What she does is hit a hard pace and holds on, and it's your job to try to maintain with her. And she just is relentless, and she's very strong. We'll see her in the fall marathon, I'm sure, later this year in the United States, where she was second at New York City last year.
Olga wearing number 6. Make that note. Olga's 6th in the program. She is the leader, followed closely by Trina Painter. There you see the men. Martin Patao on your left, Sammy Lele on your right.
Lele and Itayo look the best facially. Cruz always works hard, so he is a little bit difficult to read. Can you tell just by looking at their faces? The face is everything. I mean, you can see distress in the face. Look at Cruz. I mean, he's working hard. You can
looks
see
like us.
Harder. Well, it's more attractive, but the record again we have today is 32 minutes, 17 seconds, set back in '89 by Mark Nino, American, who is the world record holder for 10K on the roads. The women's record is 36:35, set by Erin Baker, also 1989. Which is obviously a good weather year.
The finish line was straight down Brady, straight into the river, so they didn't have to turn. So keep that in mind. So a record of the day would be even more impressive.
The last splits we had them about 9 or 10 seconds under course record pace on the men's side as Cruz now goes to the front. And the men, it's been somewhat tactical in the sense that we saw Cruz busting it up early right after the turnaround. Lele did the early front running. Kiprotich has also done his fair share. So Cruz is the guy that seems to be holding on most. And as we saw from last year's competition, Cruz does not have a finishing kick. It's incumbent upon Cruz, if he is to win this race, to get away from these other men.
Of course, last year he took the wide berth, too, coming down the hill. Our 5-mile split time for the men, 23:08. The women at 4 miles were 21:16. So pretty good pace there. As you see, Lele.
It was a 440, 5th mile, and that was uphill. Coming up back up Kirkwood.
The runners, as you see, going by, being applauded and cheered by the mass of the big field coming down the other way. So always quite a sight here as the runners get to see the leaders coming back the other way.
1984, we had 3 men coming to the finish for a sprint. Last year, the same thing, 3 men, including Cruz, one of the 4 today. Today at Bix, it's a 4 four-man, and it looks like they're going to take it all the way to the wire, and it will come down to some sort of a sprint. Because if you can hang on with the pace to this point, you probably have enough, especially coming down Brady Street, to relax. And these guys are now starting to look for position for that last kick on fourth.
Well, they're coming up that last gradual incline, coming back up Kirkwood as they come down from McClellan. So there's some sneaky hills in here, and you've got to stay close on the incline.
Pitaio on the left looks fantastic, and he has some speed, and he's got so much confidence coming off that fast 10,000 in Europe. And one of the other things that you find is that these guys have all tested one another. I mean, the testing has been done, so they all know essentially how strong the other guy is. And now it comes down to what kind of kick do I think the other guy's got. I would say that Cruz and Lille are the most vulnerable regarding a kick. Kiprotich and Pitaio run, they're more like they're not sitting down on their stride, they're lifting, and they're more like lopers rather than scooters.
Kiprotich so looks pretty smooth too, very effortless.
No, Kiprotich and Pitaio they're more the runners. It seems like they would have the best gears if it came down to just a sprint finish, but we'll see.
Our women at the 5 mile, 26:10, Markova and Trina Painter and Libby Johnson.
That's 5 minutes, 10 seconds per mile pace. That's what 26:10 represents. So they're running very fast on the women's side.
All right, we can see records in both the men's and women's as well as Masters Division 2, I'm sure, as you see the runners running through the rain here in downtown Davenport, Iowa.
And not looking distressed whatsoever.
No.
I mean, regardless of what it's doing to us, and by gosh, it's doing quite a lot. This poor guy, this little guy is saying, oh yeah.
He's ready.
What am I, why didn't Dad get me a number?
Where's cartoons, he's saying. And look at this.
Kiprotich, you see, has been in the United States after he came into the United States about a month ago in not as good a shape as Sammy Lille, but now they've been training in their training camp outside of Boston in Concord, Massachusetts, where don't fire till you see the whites of their eyes sort of made its reputation. And I think he's basically had the time and the acclimation to be able to catch up in his training to match Lille.
It looks like Cruz is doing all he can just to stay with these guys.
He's looking forward to that downhill. I think Cruz is going to have to relegate himself to a fourth-place finisher. Third.
Lille looks like he just started.
Pitaio's face, look at the fact that he can look over at that point. He is not, as lactic acid is flushed through the system, which is the waste product of your working out, essentially, you stiffen. You get real tight and stiff after exercise or in the middle of a very hard exercise. The fact that Pitaio can look around like he does means that he's got plenty left.
All right, we're at the 6 mile mark, 28 minutes even for this pack of 4 leaders. So we're looking pretty good. 32:17 the record, and it's going to be downhill that last mile.
Averaging 4:40 per mile. 28 minutes for 6 is just around a 29-minute 10K, and so they're running right at 4:40 pace.
There you see Pitaio on your left. Lille dropping back just a little. Kiprotich, number 11. Martin Pitaio of Mexico, number 15.
Pitaio looks the best because look at him gauge.
Here comes Cruz a little bit, though.
He wants to go. There's no more competitive man in the field, certainly, than Alejandro Cruz, who was third last year. He hasn't won in a while in the States, former Chicago Marathon champion, and a 2:09 marathoner at his peak.
Look at they're all abreast now.
Pitaio, as he takes these little sneaks, he's picking up the pace imperceptibly, but enough where he's saying, how does this affect these other guys? He's not really going all out as they're coming back down Brady. He's testing what these little moves do, so when he really wants to put the big push on, he'll know exactly that no one can go with him. So Pitaio's the man right now who is setting the agenda as they come back through our broadcast location.
Now we're just starting the downhill run, just starting it going downhill, and we're going to see Cruz and Pitaio, Lille and Kiprotich. They are just about even as they sprint right by us. We have a 4-man sprint going to the finish. We're going to Kiprotich dropping back perhaps just a little. We'll see who the downhiller is. Lille putting it on now, and there's Pitaio on the right. Cruz trying to keep pace. This is an all-out sprint downhill. That turn under slippery conditions may be a factor too coming up.
Absolutely. Now look at how much effort Lille has to sway back and forth. He's got that right arm whipping a la Bill Rogers. His body is not used to running downhill easily.
2 more Kenyans going by us now.
Look at how straight ahead, how smooth Martin Pitaio looks. He is very easy with his stride. Cruz is all hips and muscles and legs and pulling and pushing, and Nyankuchi's a little bit out of it right now.
Mark Planches just went by as we saw him go. But here's the leader, Sammy Lille, inching just ahead of Martin Pintau. Keith Brentley just going by. so he's going to be trying to fight for a top 10 finish along with Thom Ansbury. But it's Lele, Patel, Cruz, Kiprachuk trying to keep pace. There's your top 4 runners as they head under the railroad viaduct, and we're getting very close. 32:17. Keep in mind the record.
1 minute from the course record time, and you can see the Cruz digs down and tries to find another gear, trying to match with Pitayo and Lele. Lele's got that look of fatigue and pain just wiped all over his face as Pitayo makes the turn first. They're going to have to do something, but right now it looks like Pitayo's got all the gears necessary that he needs to win this race.
All right, we saw Nick Rose go by. He looks to be the leader in the Masters. Here's Cruz now, sprinting wide right, and Pitayo. Lele has dropped back a little bit. Cruz with a kick. He could be doing it. He's going by Pitayo and Alejandro Cruz, who lost on the stretch run last year, trying to make amends. It's Cruz and Pitayo, the 2 Mexicans, trying to outrace the Kenyans now. Pitayo comes up.
He knows he's got it. Pitayo sees that he's got it. And
look at the face on Cruz as Patayo's putting on a great finishing kick. Keep in mind,
this
32
is the 2 Mexicans.
17 is our time. 32:17 the record. They're heading toward the chute. Pitayo and Cruz just about shoulder to shoulder, but Patayo has inched him just a little bit. What a finish we're having here. The 18's running, and the quad 2 times. Here comes Cruz trying to pass Patayo on the inside. We've got a horse race going on. Through the puddles, and it's going to be Alejandro Cruz, the winner in 32:21. Martin Patayo right behind. Here comes Kiprachuk. Got Kiprachuk coming in for 3rd, and Sammy Lele taking 4th. Wow, what a finish by the men. And as far as the women are concerned, we have Trina Painter and Libby Johnson leading there. They'll be coming by us momentarily. Toni Reavis, how about that finish? We didn't think Cruz had it in him, and he put on an amazing kick at the end.
Bill Rogers just going by us right now with Pierre Levis, the great Frenchman, behind him having quite a bad race. Billy having an excellent race.
There you see more of the Kenyans coming in. Korea is going to finish 5th. And looked like Nick Rose was the Masters with...
That's Nyangincha.
Levis and Rogers are coming toward the finish line momentarily. So
I could have swore that Cruz didn't have it in him. But he is so competitive. As we take a look at Olga Markova leading this race, looking as elegant and as effortless as she did standing at the starting line.
All right, Olga Markova from Russia. Disappointed at not making the Olympic team. Dave Tirana is local runner going by me now. It looks like he could be one of the top local finishers. So congrats to him. There's our leader, Olga Markova of Russia.
I saw one time Alejandro Cruz at Cascade, 1989, make the same sort of move. Somebody else took the lead and went to the front. Cruz is the kind of man who just absolutely refuses to give up, and that's what it was. He absolutely refused to accept the fact that Pitayo had more speed and could win this competition, and he literally won it on guts, not on style, not on form. He literally just wanted it.
On the downhill,
He's got
she's
a
not that far.
12-second gap to make up. A 12-second lead as she goes by our location with a little less than a half-mile left, and that's good. I'm not going to say anything now that I blew that men's call, but I would definitely say that that she's got a pretty good chance.
There's Libby Johnson. Libby Johnson going by.
In 3rd place.
She's in 3rd. The time, winning men's time, identical of last year, 32:21. So they lost a little bit coming down. I'm sure the slippery footing may have had something to do with it. But we'll keep an eye on Markova. She should be coming to the finish line momentarily.
Anne-Marie Letko going past our location at present in 4th place.
Keep in mind the women's time, 36:35 is the women's record. So we'll see if we have a shot there.
Markova trains down in Gainesville, Florida throughout the winter months preparing for the Boston Marathon. In fact, there were 20 former Soviet athletes who were finally coming to the United States to use our country as a training base. And we saw them, much like the Kenyans who are coming from Kenya, more international has become road racing over the years. Used to be Bill and Frank and Joni and those kind of people, just Americans. And then we started seeing some Europeans, but now the entire world has come to U.S. roads.
All right. Try and keep our eyes on the finish line to see Olga Markova. She should be coming momentarily as we get ready for the women's final. Markova leading Trina Painter and Libby Johnson. Painter, Johnson, and Anne-Marie Letko. All in that final grouping as they head toward the finish line. And there you see still some of the runners and walkers just now making the turnaround.
Oh, it's
at
going to
3.5 miles.
It's going to take a long while before we see this entire field coming home. It'll be sunny by the time the entire field finishes. As Markova, you can see her right next to the flashing lights.
What a run this has been in the rain from the starting gun. It started opening up right when they started the race, and it's kept up the entire way, but it hasn't bothered the runners. too much at all, as Olga Markova of Russia coming down as they're veering here off to the women's finishing chute. And she's running very smoothly.
But she's very deceptive. She doesn't look like she's running that fast. The men, and you can see right behind, there's Trina Painter behind her, trying to make up that distance. But look how still her head is. It's almost like in golf, you want to keep your head very still. Well, this is just, you can see why she wins marathons and why she would have been the favorite in Barcelona. Just elegant. She could do this for hours. And here's her time, 36:48 unofficially.
48, so just about
like the men, a
7
little bit
seconds off. Here comes Trina Painter
from Austin, Texas, and a big race for Trina Painter, who has not been on that many road races.
All right. Also coming up, it looks, here comes Libby Johnson. Libby Johnson will take third in the women's division. Libby with a fine run as well today. She has a lot of fun when she runs.
She's got a track background, and now she's extending it onto the roads.
All right, Dan Pearson down on the finish line with the winner. Dan.
Thanks very much. We're singing in the rain down here. Joining us as an interpreter is J.D. Rios. J.D., could first of all, congratulations to Alejandro. Can just ask about the sprint to the finish. What was running through his mind?
Lo que quieres saber es lo que estabas pensando al final aquí cuando se pusieron un paso muy rápido.
Bueno, pues yo traté de llegar con ellos hasta el puente metálico este. Yo dije, si llego ahí al puente con ellos, pues les puedo ganar al final. Y traté pues de no cometer el mismo error del año pasado de estarme forzando antes de tiempo.
Okay, he said if he felt that if he got to the underpass there with them, he thought he could outsprint them. He certainly didn't want to make the mistake that he made last year where he kind of ran out of gas a little bit toward the end.
Was that definitely going through his mind as he made that final turn?
Dice que si eso es lo que estabas pensando, lo que pasó el año pasado cuando diste la vuelta.
Pues no precisamente. Más que todo traté de estar con ellos hasta los últimos, no sé, 200 metros. Yo dije, si llego ahí cerca de ellos o adelante, yo pienso que tengo la carrera. Y fue lo que pasó.
He said he wasn't thinking about that. He just felt that if he got within the 200 meters here, he thought he had a pretty good chance of out-kicking them.
How about the rain? Everybody looks like it's miserable out there, but was it a good factor for him?
De la lluvia, ¿qué te pareció? ¿Una cosa favorable o no?
Pues la verdad no sé, ni la tomé en cuenta con la presión de los corredores y que estuvo muy duro. Ni tiempo tuve de pensar en la lluvia.
He said he wasn't even thinking about it. The only thing he was worried about was with the runners, the people he was running up there in front with, and that's all that concerned him. Never even thought about the rain.
Was it very exciting running neck and neck with Martin, especially?
Dice que sí, fue muy excitante al final, corriendo con Martín al final.
Sí, para mí fue muy emocionante y estoy muy contento porque desde que regresé de una lesión corriendo el año pasado y no había podido ganar aquí en Estados Unidos. Y apenas hoy vuelvo al triunfo aquí y estoy muy contento.
He said he's very happy with how things worked out. He said he hadn't been able to win here in the United States since last year, so he felt that this was something that he was looking forward to.
All right, congratulations. Thanks very much. A very happy winner of the 1992 Quad City Times Big 7. Let's throw it right back up the hill to Tom.
Thank you, Dan. Tom Cornelis with Toni Reavis here. Alejandro Cruz, and that's kind of a good story, and the guy was in the race last year, and he comes back and makes amends for letting one get away, maybe.
He was 5th in '89, and then last year was in 3rd place, and hasn't won on tour this year after winning fairly successfully throughout his career. He's only 24 years old, and he started his running career on the roads back when he was just 20, so he's a veteran, even though he's very young still. And it's really nice to see him come here. He knows the course, and a nice young man who ran his heart out to win this competition.
So it's Mexico 1-2 today in the men's division of the Big 7. We'll be back right after this.
For a satisfying life, help others to good health. Become a doctor of chiropractic. For the best in chiropractic education, come to the world leader. Enroll at Palmer College of Chiropractic. Give life a lift.
These big winners.
Do you believe in magic?
Yeah. For the 5th consecutive year, Pontiac's been chosen the official car of the Quad City Times Big 7, featuring the all-new redesigned 92 Pontiac Grand Am and the all-new 92 Pontiac Bonneville.
Do you believe in magic? And I hope you do. Do-do-be-do. You'll always have a friend wearing big red shoes. You are. When you believe in magic. I believe. When you believe in magic.
With McDonald's Michael Jordan Happy Meal toys, you can slam game-winning dunks, kick lightning-fast goals, and train your body into a shape even Michael Jordan would find impressive. And with one of 8 toys in each Happy Meal you buy, your competition has something to sweat about.
Be a member of the WHO-TV 13 and Coldwell Banker Mid-America Group Realtors Fan Club. Help us cool things down for Central Iowans in need. Drop off new or used fans to any of the 4 Coldwell Banker locations in Ankeny, West Des Moines, the South Office, or Urbandale, or at WHO-TV 13. To receive a donated fan, call 283-4793. WHO-TV 13 and Coldwell Banker Mid-America Group Realtors Fan Club. Join now.
We've got traffic backed
up. Come on.
Slow all the way to Maple.
Gotta get out of here.
Standing still.
What were you thinking of?
Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law.
How fast were you going?
You must have had a good reason to ignore the speed limit. So why can't you answer their questions?
Of Russia, Dan Pearson down in the finish line with the women's winner. And I think Dan will need another interpreter. Dan?
You got that right, Tom. Olga Markova, the winner of the women's race, and Julia joins us for a little interpretation. Got to be an exciting moment to take it, and you really had it in control down the stretch.
Это действительно удивительный момент для тебя, да? Ты все это сделала как следует, да?
Да, конечно, я готовилась. И для меня это было, может быть, не такой уж неожиданностью, что я победила. Ну, может быть, я на первой половине дистанции немножко сомневалась, когда рядом со мной появилась Мария Летко. Но после второй половины я себя почувствовала очень бодро и решила, что я могу выиграть.
I was working very hard for it, so it wasn't so unexpected for me, says Olga. And although on the first part of the distance, she had little doubts because there was Marina Letke following her very close, but the second part, she went very strong.
She's had a great year. Potentially could be in the Olympics. You know, she's had just a great year with marathons. How does this rate, this victory?
Конечно, я очень расстроена, потому что в основном я готовилась показать отличный результат на Олимпийских играх в Барселоне. И готовилась к марафону. Я думала, что я могу пробежать марафон сейчас очень хорошо, но, увы, я не смогла поехать. Я немножко расстроена.
She's a little bit upset that she couldn't go to the Olympic Games in Barcelona. She was working very hard to show the best results in Barcelona in the marathon. But she's still going on with her work, and she's glad that she could show very good results here.
It's got to be a very satisfying win for them, especially the Olympics begin today. It's kind of ironic.
Должно быть очень для тебя приятно, то, что ты показал такой результат, особенно потому, что Олимпийские игры сегодня начинаются, да?
Я думаю, да, но я, конечно, буду расстроена смотреть 31-го, по-моему, июля марафон по телевизору, потому что я очень хотела быть там.
Yes, I'll certainly be. She says that she'll certainly be watching the Olympic Games, and unfortunately she'll be, well, of course she'll be a little upset to watch TV on the 31st when she expects to see marathon, because she wanted to be among those people over there.
Congratulations.
Я хотела поблагодарить всех спонсоров этих соревнований за этот замечательный праздник. Все организовано прекрасно. Я очень рада, что я нахожусь здесь.
She just wants to thank all the sponsors and everybody who worked very hard to organize this great celebration, and she's very happy to be here.
We're thankful that you ran so hard in this rain, too. But we'll throw it back up the hill again, the 1992 women's winner of the Quad City Times Big 7, Olga Markova.
Well, Toni, she better get a driver's license.
Oh, remember that last year? 2 years ago,
Kogo did not have one.
Kogo didn't have a driver. And last year, Kenny Martin just got one from New Mexico. He had one, a Texas license. So there's always this, with this car involved. Well, she had to get one because she won the, the Boston doesn't have a car. This could be the first car victory that she's had in her career.
All right, we'll give her truly an international field. Needless to say, when you talk about the Quad City Times Big 7, we have the 2 Mexicans, Cruz and Patayo, holding off the Kenyans, Lele and Kiprotich, Markova from Russia, holding off the 2 Americans, Painter and Libby Johnson.
You know, it almost reinforces the point we were making a little bit earlier when the Kenyans come over here peaked. If they had to stay over, like Sinclair was saying, a little bit longer and race more often, the results would be slightly different. And now we're seeing Cruz and Patayo who are regulars on the American tour, as well as running in Europe and Asia as well. But we see them all throughout the year. And finally, after 4 races, it began to tell on the Kenyans, and Kiprotich and Lele, who had been dominating, had brought back just enough where the playing field had once again become even. And I think that's what we need to do in the sport in general, is have regulations like they do on the PGA Tour.
Well, we see more of the runners, some 18,246 continuing, all going for their personal best, no doubt about it.
It's a record for the 18th straight year as far as numbers at the Big 7.
And next year, 19th year, probably hit at least 19,000, I would say, as this race continues to grow in popularity and across the country. And you're out there and hearing about, different races. The Bix has become a household word among runners, has it not?
The Big 7, with the kind of field they've got, the town support is just enormous. The fact that it's linked in with the Bix Festival, it has all the ingredients. It's not just a race where you come in on Saturday night, you run the race on Sunday and leave, or Friday, Saturday, etc., and leave. The point is that in this particular competition, there's something going on constantly, the night before, the day after, and that whole Big 6 leading into the competition, and everyone is led down the line. This is the most professional road race that I've been to in my 15 years.
All right, we're glad you're with us. Cruz and Markova are winners, and Nick Rose of England takes the Masters. As you see more of the finishers, we'll be back with more Bix coverage right after this.
You can do it.
You can pamper your garden with help from True Value. Our Green Thumb 60-foot reinforced garden hose is a True Value at $9.88. Our Green Thumb oscillating sprinkler just $9.99. And get Ortho high-power insect foggers. Buy 2 for just $3.99 and get a 3rd can free. For personal service and low prices, bring your family to ours.
You can do it with True Value.
On the next new WKRP in Cincinnati, Johnny Fever is back.
Hi, Johnny.
But he's a little jumpy.
We're looking for Johnny Caravella.
Everyone wants Johnny.
Do you like having your back scrubbed in the shower?
There's something unsavory going on there.
No, it's just the song of love.
What?
It's a fast-paced, hair-raising episode that really takes the cake. Don't miss it. Tonight at 5, only on TV 13.
Meet Zog Bones. Zog is a cave dude. He likes to ride on the walls, which I guess you can do if you live in a cave. Zog has friends just like you do. Well, kind of like you do. Anyway, you can bring your friends to see Zog and his friends. So catch Zog Bones and his colossal lawsuit at the Science Center of Iowa.
After work, after rush hour, when you get home, Live at 5 is there. Jim Strickland and Lori Groves bring you the news from Iowa, the nation, and around the world. Ed Wilson's Live First Forecast will help you plan your evening's activities. Live at 5, your first source for the day's news and weather. On News Center 13, where the news comes first 24 hours a day.
Welcome back to the 18th running of the Quad City Times Big 7. Tom Cornelis, Toni Reavis with you. Alejandro Cruz of Mexico has won the men's division in a time of 32 minutes and 21 seconds. Same winning time as last year. We thought we were going to have a winning pace there for a while, a record pace, but down the hill with the rain, the guys may be holding off just a little bit, but what a kick by Cruz.
Fantastic. All effort, all guts. He got tired of getting beaten by the Kenyans, and he says, well, I'm at it. The heck with you, Martin Patayo, my countryman. I'll beat you, too.
They're probably tired of hearing about the Kenyan wave. They want to go out and hey.
The Mexicans have. I mean, Salvador Garcia is leading their contingent in the Olympic marathon, and they're enormously proud, the Mexicans are, and they feel, because they live at altitude and train at altitude, and they're like Kenyan light in many ways, and what they're saying is, we're not giving the Kenyans first place as far as dominance on the international scene in distance running, and the Mexicans, led by the world record holder at 10,000 meters, Arturo Barrios, has a very strong contingent, and they're trying to make their mark, and here at Big 7, they've laid another layer of what they have to offer in front of those Kenyans.
At the same time, we got to ask what happened to the American men today. Ken Martin dropping out at the halfway point. From what I could see as they came by me, it looked like Jeff Brantley was the top U.S. finisher, and he was just squeezing into the top 10. So really not a good day for the U.S. men contingent.
Well, I think that Brantley, who was running very competitively at the Peachtree Road race down in Atlanta July 4th, maybe the rain affected him, although coming from down in north central Florida, he's into heat, humidity, although there's no hills, and that could have been the difference. Florida has, dead flat, pancake down there, and it could well be that Brantley and Hills don't necessarily get along. As far as Ken Martin, I think it was more of a head problem than a physical problem. He obviously runs well on hills. He's won this competition in a very fast time in the past. So I just think that the conditions were not such that the Americans were going to do well here today.
But Trina Painter and Libby Johnson did well for the U.S. in the women's division. I thought they both ran strong races.
Painter's an up-and-comer. Libby Johnson still making her transition from a track runner at 3,000 meters and 1,500 meters to the longer distance on the road. So two excellent performances by them.
Okay, as you see the runners, rain-soaked, coming in to the finish line, all going as we're some 50 minutes into our race. The winners once again, Alejandro Cruz and Olga Markova. We'll be right back with more Bix coverage right after this.
The Bix 7 is brought to you by Palmer College of Chiropractic and True Value Hardware Stores.
not just growing, we're getting better. Yes! I love what I'm doing. We're getting better. That's a good feeling.
Weekday afternoons at 4, only on TV 13.
Mrs. Washburn, I'm Gerald Fry's mother.
Oh, don't you work nights?
I traded shifts. Mrs. Washburn, about Gerald. I wish I could help him learn better, but I'm no genius.
Well, you don't have to do the homework, but ask to see it. Let him show off what he learned. Praise him more. Show you care.
You think we got a chance here?
A good chance. Show me a parent who really cares, and I'll show you a kid who can learn.
Jerry Reno and News Center 13, where the news comes first 24 hours a day.
The race continues, and so does our coverage. This is the Quad City Times Big 7 Post Show.
The Big 7 is brought to you by True Value Hardware Stores.
Welcome back, everybody, to our post-race show here for the Quad City Times Big 7. I'm Thom Cornelis. Along with me, ESPN running commentator Toni Reavis. Our winners today, Alejandro Cruz of Mexico, Olga Markova of Russia. An exciting race. We saw a slam-bang finish as we see the runners continuing to plod through the puddles here, Toni, but you couldn't ask for a better race, I don't think, despite the conditions.
Maybe the conditions helped. It was just magnificent to watch. I mean, the rain adds a certain, that element adds something to it, and there's running through the conditions. That's what road racing is. I mean, they don't call it off because of it's raining. I don't care how hard it is. The only one time in my life I ever saw a race called off, the Philadelphia Marathon, and it was because of ice on the streets.
There we see Cruz with that closing kick.
Cruising past Pitayo. He's seen too many people go by him earlier this year not to enjoy that. And Markova, she's used to that. More of a controlled effort for her. The irony, again, being that she should be in Barcelona as the Olympic gold medal favorite, but because of the breakup of the Soviet Union and her not going to the Los Angeles Marathon, instead going to Boston, she was not selected.
Well, we're glad she was there. She looks like she could run another 7.
In the same sense that this race was really catapulted to the big time in 1980 with the American boycott, she had her own mini boycott in essence, and so she was brought here. It's a testament to what this race represents on the schedule. It's a big time competition. Every one of these top athletes who was here made an attempt at the Olympic team, and for one reason or another was not selected or didn't qualify, and yet here they are running spectacular performances. Any one of them could easily take this type of performance and be very respectful at the Olympic Games in Barcelona.
No doubt about it. All right, we've got some happy winners down at the finish line. $5,000 and the keys to a new Pontiac.
Windshield wipers on the car.
Going to the winners. And let's go down with race director Ed Froelich and our Dan Pearson for the presentation.
Thanks a lot, Tom. It's pouring down here, but I don't think too many people are noticing it right now. We do have the fun part right now, passing over the cash and the cards, and to make the introductions for that is race director Ed Froelich.
Thank you, Dan. First of all, on behalf of the Quad City Times and the Big 7, I'd really like to thank the 4,000 people that are out there getting soaked. They had a great day taking care of everybody. Now I'd like to introduce two gentlemen who have some special congratulations to make to our two new Big 7 champions. First, Ed Ehlers, president of the President Riverboat Casino, who's going to be making the cash payments today.
Ed, thank you very much. As you said, nothing can dampen the spirits of the Big 7 and all the people who are here, and we'd like to welcome our two winners, Alejandro Cruz and Olga Markova. And on behalf of the President Riverboat Casino, we're very, very happy to award them each a check in the amount of $5,000 for their efforts today, so it was worthwhile. Well, I don't speak much Russian, so I can't say anything to Olga. I will say to Martin, is con mucho gusto, that I give you this check and buena suerte.
Thank you, Ed. And now, the guys that make excitement, even in the rain, the Pontiac boys. Speaking for the Pontiac is John Keaty, president of your local hometown Pontiac dealers.
Ed, thank you very much. On behalf of the local Pontiac dealers, Iowa, Illinois, hometown Pontiac dealers, and Pontiac Motor Division, we want to thank you and the Corn Belt Running Club for the opportunity to be back again this year. I want to give a special thanks to the Quad City Times for being the good citizen they are and for making this whole thing possible. And you're right, at Pontiac, we do build excitement, and there was nothing more exciting than the men's race today. A real race to the finish in Alexandro. Just a tremendous job by you. Olga, you didn't even make it close. You were number one all the way. So on behalf of Pontiac and your local Pontiac dealers, Ed's going to help me present these keys to this new 92 Grand Am, the number one selling car in the General Motors family. Congratulations to both of you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Dan.
That's nice stuff. Wow, nicely done, gentlemen. Look at the water bead on that car. Isn't that something? Well, they certainly earned quite a paycheck today, and I understand there are a few thousand more people crossing the line as we speak. We'll go back up Brady Hill to Thom and Toni.
Thank you, Dan. We're back here trying to stay high and dry here outside of our broadcast. Yes, we've gone through a couple towels, a couple napkins, a couple pairs of shorts, but what the heck? This is going to make this one one to remember is Alejandro Cruz of Mexico, the winner, followed by his countryman Martin Patayo, and then the Kenyans, Godfrey Kiprotich, outkicking Sami Lele. Perhaps there's a mild surprise that the Kenyans didn't win, the fact that Kiprotich beat Lele.
Yeah, he had the motivation. He, just like Cruz, was upset with Lele beating him all the time. I think Kiprotich, you only think of your countrymen when you're out on the course. When it comes down to the last 200 meters or so, it's every man for himself, and Kiprotich wanted his share of the action.
And Kibiebo Coriano was the fifth one, Korea. So we have 3 Kenyans in the top 5. 2 Mexicans finish 1-2 in the men's division. Their time, 32 minutes, 21 seconds, just about 4 seconds off the BIC's record. As far as the women, Olga Markova, as you saw, a time of 36:48, about 7 seconds off the BIC's record. And finishing a strong second and third, Trina Painter and Libby Johnson of the U.S., followed unofficially by Anne-Marie Letko and Kim Jones. So actually, for the women, 4 of the top 5 are the Americans. They had themselves a good race.
They did. Coming off the trials, they were really fit, really focused, and they used that fitness and focus here at the Big 7 to their credit. Anytime you can beat somebody like Olga, have to race against somebody like Olga Markova, who was number 1 in the world at the marathon, you're racing against the very tip top, and based on that, they have to be pleased by coming as close to her as they were, because they were with her past halfway in this competition.
As far as the Masters is concerned, Nick Rose of England, the winner over Bill Rogers and Pierre Levis. We'll be back with more of our post-race coverage here on our exclusive Big 7 broadcast telecast.
You can do it.
You can remodel and repair with help from True Value. Make it stick with Mako Liquid Nails. True Value priced at $1.19. Get 2 rolls of tough masking tape for only $1. Weatherproof with True Bond silicone sealant. Choose clear or white. Get 2 for just $5. For personal service and low prices, bring your family to ours.
You can do it with True Value.
This weekend, while you're at play, we're at work.
Because news happens 7 days a week, and we're here to cover it.
We've got 22 years experience between us. I've lived here all my life. I know this town.
At News Center 13, even on weekends, the news comes first, 24 hours a day.
Come on, play it again.
Right after this message.
If you need information on money, health and nutrition, educating your children, and more, then you need the government's free consumer information catalog.
Just give me the address.
Send your name and address to New Catalog, Pueblo, Colorado, 81009.
Wink.
The free catalog lists publications on getting a job, exercising, buying a home, and much more. Getting your free consumer information catalog and free sample booklet is as easy as sending your name and address to New Catalog, Pueblo, Colorado, 81009. The free catalog will give you access to hundreds of government publications, many of which are free. For those of you who missed it, that address again, New Catalog, Pueblo, Colorado, 81009.
I got it.
The free consumer information catalog. First-class information for the price of a first-class stamp.
Yes.
Welcome back to our extended Quad City Times Big 7 coverage. Thom Cornelis, Toni Reavis with you. Our winners, Alejandro Cruz of Mexico and Olga Markova of Russia. The women's winner, Nick Rose of England, the Masters winner. And as you can see behind us, from time to time, some of the 18,264 runners and walkers still making their way to the finish line.
About the 18,246 raindrops coming on our heads.
We've had that, too. Masters, Nick Rose, you kind of liked him coming in, and although Rogers ran a good race, too.
I think Bill was really the story finishing. I mean, Bill's 40. I know this. Bill's 44, and he doesn't come into the races just to do a walkthrough. And again, him beating Pierre Levis is quite a story. Nick Rose, again, had not beaten Levis since they turned master at 40 years of age. And early in the year, it was Rose who was taking all the championships, and then Levis in March turned 40, and then he won everything. So there's an ebb and flow in the Masters competition. It used to be that you didn't run after college, and so that's why you would see people like the great Jim Ryan, who's been here before for this race. He ran his fastest time of his life in the mile at age 21. You don't see people after that. Now you're seeing people trying to break 4 minutes for the mile as 40-year-olds. So the whole running boom era, brought on by Bill Rogers and Frank Shorter, really has extended people's careers, and the performances are still electrifying, even at the age of 40 and above.
All right, you mentioned the ages of 40 for the Masters. Mike Mickle is down at the finish line, and we have old runners, young runners. They're all getting ready for a party. I don't think the rain's going to put too big of a damper on the party. Just finishing is exhilarating in itself. So let's go down to our own wet and wild Mike Mickle, somewhere near the finish line.
I'm down in the parking lot of the Quad City Times building, and there is a party going on down here, TC. Rain or no rain, I'm telling you what, the runners are pouring into the parking lot. I do mean pouring with this rain especially. I'm going to let this man right here introduce himself. Hi, sir. How'd you do?
Pretty good. 53 minutes. My name is Phil Caldwell.
Phil, how young are you?
60 years old.
60 years old, and you did the race in how much?
53 minutes.
Wow, that's a good time, don't you think?
It's not bad. We slogged along.
Especially in this weather.
It was very wet. The course was sloggy, but there were a lot of spectators out there, so it was very nice.
A lot of people cheering you on.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Phil, congratulations on that time, and try and get dry.
Thank you. I'm going to do that right now.
All right. The runners are coming in by the hundreds, or maybe I should say the thousands at this point. They're really pouring in. There's definitely a party going on down here in the parking lot. They're grabbing their chips. They're grabbing their water. They're having a good time, and there's plenty of water to be had down here. Right now, my friend from the Quad City Times, Bill Wondrum, standing by, and Bill has a very young runner with him. Hi, Bill.
Well, how do you do, Michael? I've never been so wet in my life. People here are taking their clothes off to get dry.
I noticed that.
I've been drier in a dunk tank. Listen, I have a remarkable young runner here. This is Ben Roop. Ben is 11, and he's quite remarkable because he's been running since the age of what?
8.
8. And this is your 4th Bix race?
Yes.
And what did you do it in, Benny?
53.
53. He says disappointed. I think that sounds great. I couldn't drive it in 53. What was it? And he said it wasn't tough today.
It was easier because I don't know really why, but
why was it easier?
It was just funner and.
It was just funner. That's good. It was just funner. And you like to run in the rain. All right. Well, listen, it was good talking to you. You going to be back next year? Yep, he's going to be back. Thank you much, Ben.
We'll be back next year, too, and hopefully we'll be a little drier at that point. You know, right now, though, our friend Dan Pearson is standing by at the finish line. Dan, are you as wet as we are?
Well, thanks a lot, Mike. We're with Scott Fry, and Scott Fry is pretty darn wet right now. Tell me what it was like running the course out there, Scott.
Well, I didn't go out as hard as everyone up that first hill. I wanted to be sure I wasn't, trashed by the top of that thing. The rain cooled things off a lot, and I thought it made the race a lot more comfortable than if it had not. I felt it really made things tolerable.
Do you find people do get more aggressive or less aggressive, some of the top runners?
Yeah. It's not, if it would have been a hot day, I'm sure it would have been a little bit less aggressive, so it might have made things more aggressive. I think more people, more than anything on this course, know that the second half of the race is so tough, so nobody really does anything crazy at the beginning, which usually you can see somebody taking a chance and really going hard the very beginning of the race, and once you got to the top of the hill, I think things really stayed in the, kind of in the group for a while.
Is this your first Bix?
Yeah, This is the first time I've run it.
What do you think?
It worked out good for me. I was a top American today, and 7th place. I was hoping to be 10th to 15th, so if I had a good day. So this is probably, this is a pretty good race for me.
Tell me about the atmosphere, as it compared to other races you go to.
Yeah, I like this race a lot. I like the, the music and the kind of festival-like atmosphere, and with everybody packed down in here, it makes it seem like a really big event. It's kind of exciting coming into town, seeing all the banners and all the tents and everything set up. So
we're happy you made it this year. We hope to see you next year, too.
Yeah, I hope to return.
All right, congratulations on being a top American, too.
Thanks.
All right, thanks a lot, Scott. That's a story from down at the finish line where it's still just as wet as it was before. We'll go back up to Thom and Toni now.
Well, you can only get so wet after a while, right?
That's what I think about the party. I mean, why go home? You're already soaked. Are you going to go home and go indoors? You're going to feel uncomfortable? Stay outside. Have a good time.
All right, let's kind of recap the finish in case you just joined us, just getting up. It was Alejandro Cruz of Mexico with a great stretch run, outkicking his countryman Martin Pitao, with the Kenyans finishing 3rd and 4th. And here's Olga Markova of Russia, sailing along as the women's winner. So 2 fine runners representing the Bix for 1992. We'll have more Bix coverage post-race coming at you after this timeout.
You can do it.
You can beat the heat with the help of True Value, the Mr. Coffee Electric Iced Teapot. True Value priced at $22.88. Make ice cream, yogurt, and friends with a 6-quart White Mountain ice cream maker. Get the taste of outdoor cooking in any weather with a Contemporary Electric Charbecue. It's just $24.99. For personal service and low prices, bring your family to ours.
You can do it with True Value.
Illinois. How many ways can you think of to stop your friends from drinking and driving? Here's one of my favorites, the designated driver. It's happy hour and everyone's having a good time, especially our friend in the middle.
Another round, gentlemen? We've got time for one more.
Sure, another tonic and lime for me.
Hey, Mike. Looks like you've caught someone's eye. Some guy's got all the luck. What's he got that we haven't got?
The keys. So even if you're going out for just a few drinks, make sure the keys are in the right hands.
After work, after rush hour, when you get home, Live at 5 is there. Jim Strickland and Lori Groves bring you the news from Iowa, the nation, and around the world. Ed Wilson's Live First Forecast will help you plan your evening's activities. Live at 5, your first source for the day's news and weather on News Center 13, where the news comes first 24 hours a day.
Bix post-race coverage. As you see, the runners and walkers still sloshing their way down Brady Street Hill toward the finish line. Our winners, Alejandro Cruz and Olga Markova, and Nick Rose of England wins the Masters division, and a great run by Nick Rose, and he's down at the finish line now with our Dan Pearson.
Thanks a lot, Thom. It's coming down harder now, but Nick Rose is, I'm sure, feeling pretty good about things. Tell us what it was like crossing the line. You collapsed at the end of the race.
Well, I always give 100%, and obviously it's with the Masters fields that you have today with Joseph Enzau and Pierre Levis, it's always tough. And I've been over here 5 weeks now, and it's the first time I've beaten Pierre, and I gave it 100%, and I was fortunate to get to the finish.
Okay, everyone's been chasing Pierre all summer long. Did the rain work to your benefit at all? Was that a positive factor for you?
Well, being from England, I'm pretty much used to this, I suppose. But, I don't mind. Whatever the weather's like, it's the same for everyone. And some people like the rain more than others. Some people like the heat more than others. But I always feel it's the same for everyone, and you mustn't complain. And I'm obviously happy to win.
Mm-hmm. How did you attack the course? You know, you were among the leaders at the turnaround.
Well, yes. I mean, I enjoy this sort of course where it's tough. I don't like the flat, fast courses. I'd rather have a challenge in there. And certainly the challenge was very early on, but I think also at the turnaround it was quite hard, and coming back it was a a gradual climb of about a mile after the turnaround. And I enjoyed that. I ran on my own for about 4 or 5 miles and just enjoyed winning.
Ever run courses like this before? You ever seen them around in your experiences?
Yes, I mean, Cascade in Portland, Oregon is a very tough course. It's pretty much 4 miles up and 5 miles down. And but this is unique in that the hill is right at the start. And I think if you have a chance of doing well, you have to attack it. And that's what I did, because I think your competition can get away from you early on.
The timing was incredible when the rain started. It's just moments within the race's start.
Well, it was a pretty amazing start, because 8 o'clock the rain started. Just after 8, the balloons came down, and it was hell at the start, but fortunately the race got off.
You must be pretty satisfied right now, though.
I am. I fly home today, and I'll be a happy man flying home to England today, yeah.
Congratulations. We're glad you were here and glad you're a champion today.
Thank you. I hope it stops raining later on anyhow.
All right. We do, too. Thank you very much. Nick Rose, the Masters champion. Right now, we'll throw it back to Thom and Toni on top of the hill.
Thank you, Dan. Nick Rose, a fine effort by Nick. And
Nick Rose is one of the all-time best, a 3-time Olympian for Britain. He holds, I think, the 3rd fastest 10K road time in history. And he was much better as Reavis as an open division runner, but there's almost like a correlation. The better you are when you're a kid, the more you've taken out of your legs for your adulthood. And that's why people like John Campbell a couple of years ago and now Pierre Reavis, who weren't that great as youngsters, had plenty left for their 40s.
All right, well, we've got a youngster down in the parking lot, Mike Mickle, who's talking with some of the costume runners, we understand. Of course, with the way Mickle dresses, it's probably hard to tell who's in costume and who isn't. Mike, let's throw it down to you, bud.
You are a hateful man at times, TC, but that's okay. And as a matter of fact, the guys that I have with me right now are not in costumes. They just normally look goofy. Now, with more than 18,000 people running the Bix race, it's safe to say almost all of us have friends that have been running in it. Here are a couple of mine. I've got Greg Dalton and Mike Gimbel, and I'm just relieved to see that you two survived this race.
Yeah, it's my first race, and
so how'd you do?
I didn't do too bad. I finished within an hour, and that's better than what I thought I was going to do.
Beat 2 minutes. Well, and you're still standing. I think that's good news. And Greg, I know you run a lot, so how'd you do? Did you beat it?
A lot of rushing up Brady Street was tough to fight, but I did.
By how much? Come on, brag a little bit.
Oh, 10,
you want a good time coming to Bix?
Not really. Beat him by about a minute.
Guys, good race. Good to see you. I'm glad you're in one piece. And right now, another friend of mine, Bill Wandrum, is over here, and he's got a man with a really goofy headpiece on. Bill, what's this all about?
This is a man who flew in the race. This is Vince Viren of Davenport. Now look at this outfit.
Well, it helped.
It helped. He made it in less than 2 hours, believe it or not.
Oh, yeah.
There are a lot of expensive, fancy outfits in this race, but this is the cheapest. This is the most inexpensive. It costs 25 cents. And where did you say it arrived, flew in from?
Yeah, my sister saw it down in a hangar down in North Carolina, and she thought, hey, my brother would wear it. Why not give it to him?
Hangar baloney. He got it at a garage sale.
Yeah, and I also brought my little thing to kind of clear out traffic.
Let's hear that again. He said the toughest part of the race was would be the people in front of you. Why is that?
There's so many, you know.
And they kicked up what?
Oh, all this water, but you gotta love it.
They kicked up the puddles.
That's right.
Oh, well, great. Well, like we say, you flew through Lucky Lindy.
Yeah, well, I was hoping it'd be better weather for flying, but you know.
Well.
Take what you can get.
Okay, we're carrying it back over to Mike or somebody or the weatherman.
Well, I am really, really glad that plane helped him. That's just one of the funny costumes. We saw Spine walking through here a few minutes ago. They're dressed and everything. A lot of them are taking their clothes off, as Bill said earlier, to dry out. There's still a party going on down here in the Quad City Times parking lot, and that's going to wrap it up for Bill Wandrum and me. We're having a good time. And Bill, what do you say we go find some food?
Let's go find some food, and let's find some dry clothes. But, you know, in spite of all the rain, everybody is having one heck of a good time.
They are having a good time. For Bill Wandrum, I'm Mike Mickle down in the Quad City Times parking lot. Thom?
Thank you, gentlemen. Those guys have a good time, rain or shine. You can tell that, huh?
Yeah, Bill is hysterical.
Yes, he is.
The Ben, the little kid he was talking to earlier, look at him like, who's this guy?
Quite a rider,
beautiful.
Too, in his own right. We're going to take a break here, and we'll be back to wrap things up here on our extended Quad City Times Big 7 coverage.
Nice run. Keep moving. Keep moving.
You can pamper your garden with help from True Value. Our Green Thumb 60-foot reinforced garden hose is a true value at $9.88. Our Green Thumb oscillating sprinkler, just $9.99. And get Ortho high-power insect foggers. Buy 2 for just $3.99 and get a third can free. For personal service and low prices, bring your family to ours.
You can do it with True Value.
The year Gatorade came out, linemen moved a little slower. Runners were lonelier, and the only people who worked out were on TV. Sports have changed. So change your sports drink to All Sport. It's got a specially advanced formula. It's got the optimal balance of carbohydrates and fluids. And it's got a taste that makes Gatorade a thing of the past. New All Sport. Change your game.
On the next new WKRP in Cincinnati, Johnny Fever is back.
Hi, Johnny.
But he's a little jumpy.
We're looking for Johnny Caravella.
Everyone wants Johnny.
Do you like having your back scrubbed in the shower?
There's something unsavory going on there.
No, it's just a song of love.
What?
It's a fast-paced, hair-raising episode that really takes the cake. Don't miss it. Tonight at 5, only on TV 13.
If you need help understanding Medicare coverage or have questions about the care you received while in the hospital, a skilled nursing facility, a home health agency, a hospital outpatient department, or through your approved Medicare HMO, call the Iowa Foundation for Medical Care at 1-800-752-7014. We work with doctors and hospitals to resolve your Medicare problems. That's 1-800-752-7014. No-cost help for Medicare problems.
Welcome back to our extended coverage of the Quad City Times Big 7. Thom Cornelis, Toni Reavis with you. You see the runners in their chutes getting their final time. Alejandro Cruz, Olga Markova are winners here, along with Nick Rose in the Masters division. Coming up, the Olympics starting today, actually, and some of the runners who weren't here over there. Can you quickly handicap who you think we should watch for?
Well, in the marathons, I think Wanda Panfil from Poland, who is the defending champion, has a shot. She didn't run well at Boston. Markova beat her there. I think Rosa Mota, the former champion, the world champion, a former Olympic gold medalist, she's been off form a little bit. I think you're going to see some new Japanese women. The Japanese have really risen. The World Track and Field Championships last year were in Tokyo, and Japanese men and women really came to the forefront since they were hosting the games. I think we'll see a lot of tough Japanese in that competition. And on the men's side, Ibrahim Hussein from Kenya, who won Boston, is probably the favorite going in.
All right, we've got runners and walkers continuing to stream down Brady into their closing chutes. What a race this has been, the 18th running of the Quad City Times. Alejandro Cruz with a great finish. We thought we had a great finish last year. Needless to say, I think this one beat it. We had 4 guys going neck and neck into that final turn, with Alejandro Cruz and Martin Pateo of Mexico trying to hold off Kenyans, Kiprotich and Lele, and Cruz, who was kind of holding back the last mile, really came on strong.
The way he, in a sense, blew it last year, taking that wide turn out and then coming back inside and running out of gas, he's obviously a man who can learn from his past mistakes, and he used his experience on the course from last year to help him win the competition this year, in spite of the fact that his stride is so much more difficult to sprint with than his Patayos.
Okay, Tony, thanks for joining us this year. Hope it doesn't rain this all the time, but we appreciated your expertise.
I grew up in St. Louis on the Mississippi River. This is feeling like coming back home. I'm glad to be with you.
Okay, so on behalf of all of our great Bix crew, and they did a great job today considering the elements, my hat's off to them. I'm Thom Cornelis for Toni Reavis, Dan Pearson, Doug Bisbee, Bill Wundram, Mike Mickle, everybody on the line. We thank you for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed our 3 hours of live coverage here of the 1992 Quad City Times Bix 7 Road Race. Our winners once again, Alejandro Cruz and Olga Markova. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and we'll see you next year.
The Bix 7 is brought to you by True Value Hardware Stores.
in magic, and I hope you do.